Hi there, everybody, and it's Friday again. I'm back with you here this week. Um, Thank you for joining us here on Sharon's Community Connection. I'm so glad to bring these to you, and I think the rest of the staff is always glad to bring these to you. Um, it's been a long time now that we've been doing these. It's been over a year. Pretty amazing that we've been able to do one video a week, maybe take a week off here or there. I haven't done every single week, but it's been like over a year since we started doing these, and I think it's been really important for us to do that so that we could connect with everybody out there online in different ways that are unique to us, right? Um, I think no two videos are the same that you have seen over the past year plus. I remember when I started out, I was kind of doing some fun things, ministry with the items in my office, trying to have a little fun with it to kind of brighten the mood that we were in when this all started, right? Uh, and then it kind of took on more of a as I started to get go further into it, it became more of these talks, right? Um, One of the things about my videos, and you probably don't have noticed, is I don't write anything down. I just get in front of the camera and talk. Now there's some pros and cons to that, right? Sometimes I turn this thing on and I have no clue what I'm going to say. Other times, what it does is it doesn't give me like a framework or a guideline to work within. So I end up repeating myself or kind of rambling a little bit. It can happen. I just feel it's important for me to look in the screen and talk. In a way, it's life giving for me, as if I'm talking to an audience out there, and it just makes me it lets me get some of the things that I'm thinking out, which I think is very important, right? And I come to you. It's Friday, uh, April 30th, and of course we are all still kind of feeling the fallout and some of the shock and sadness and grief from Pastor Lynn uh, leaving us. Uh, on Monday, the Sharon staff was uh, invited to go down to Pastor Lynn's funeral in Moorhead to be with the family and to kind of take some time to do our grieving because it's hard in a ministry position sometimes when we have to be there for everybody who is grieving in the congregation, and we want to do that for you, but we have to be our best selves, right? We have to bring our best selves to that situation. So it was important for us to take that time to go uh, get our feelings out at Pastor Lynn's funeral, and it makes us better for you. Now that doesn't mean we're emotionless, right? We still cry, we still get upset, but uh, we have to take our time to deal with our feelings so that we can help you process yours, right? It's kind of a mutual relationship here in the church. And we're glad to do that for you, like I said. Um, the funeral was just a great experience. Not that funerals are great experiences, but it was so nice to sit there and see Pastor Lynn's family, how much they loved her, how much they cared for her, and how much she meant to everybody in that church. Uh, I don't know how many of you talked to Pastor Lynn personally. I know when I knew her for years now, but we would talk about family every now and then. But Pastor Lynn's question was always, "How are you, and how is your family?" And I think when that happens, we forget to ask the pastor or the person asking us, "Well, how is your family?" Right? We get wrapped up in telling them about ourselves, and then we forget that they're people too sometimes. And so I knew Pastor Lynn had a family that she cared very much about, and I knew some of her activities outside of the church, baseball games and travel and things like that. We never got super in depth about her personal life because if anybody knew her, she was always more concerned about us and how we were doing, right? Anybody who's talked to her. And so uh, that just speaks to the humbleness of that Pastor Lynn carried. Uh, None of this was about her. Ministry was about her church, and ministry was about the people in her church. and caring for them. And it was never about her. And I think that is just such a wonderful quality to have in a church leader. Uh, there was no ego in anything. There was no I'm going to do this my way. There was no I'm going to tell them how to do this the way I want it done. Um, she gave us very much freedom to explore ministry the way that worked for us. With She would give us guidelines and pointers every now and then, but very humble servant. So I think that is something that hopefully we can all model. It's hard, right? It's hard to take ourselves out of situations and let people lead or let people have their ideas and just kind of gently guide. Pastor Lynn was a master of that. She really was good at it. So that was, like I said, the nice thing to see at the funeral was just how much everybody cared for her and how much how strong that relationship between her and her family was. It was so moving to see. We had a couple speakers at the funeral, right? Um, the, we heard from some of her family at the end, and then of course I went up, and I will be honest, I did not expect to be doing that day. Um, we had been asked that somebody from Sharon go up and speak, right? And we had been talking at lunch as to who should do it, and everyone, I kind of got like, I think you just volunteered, Steve, is kind of what I heard. So I did it. Um, but man, once again, uh, it's one of those situations where it's like, I have to do this incredibly hard thing again. And I did. And it's one of the many incredibly hard things that has been asked of me in the last year or so. And I think we're all dealing with incredibly hard things, right? Because of the pandemic and the response to it, because of the way school was, because of the way our jobs were, many of us were asked to do incredibly hard things that we didn't think we could do, but we did them, right? We're looking back now over a year later from the start of kind of everything beginning, right? The whole pandemic lockdown and everything. And many people can look back on the last year and lament, right, of the things they lost or the things they couldn't do and things like that. But I also want you to look back on the last year and say, well, look at the things that you were able to do that you didn't think you could do, right? What an amazing testament to us as people and to our faith and to our strength uh, and belief that God was guiding us, that we got through it, right? And we're starting to come out of it, right? It's not over, right? We're all busy getting vaccinated, and some activities are getting back to normal, and some restrictions are being lifted, and that's wonderful news. There's still some things that are hard. There are still some people we can't go see. There are still some people, uh, places we can't go. And so we continue to be strong. We continue to shoulder these loads that we didn't think we could carry. And so um, I went up to speak at Pastor Lynn's funeral, and it was a thing that I did not think I could do, honestly. And I remember I almost broke once up there, and it is so incredibly hard to talk in those situations. Um, but that is why we trust that God is with us, right? God is standing there beside us, watching over us, helping us find the words, helping us really be there for the people who need us to be there, right? And I remember it was Lynn's sister gave me the biggest hug after the funeral on Monday, just crying and so emotional because she thought my words meant so much. And that is not to brag or anything about what I did, because to be honest, I thought I did okay at best, but apparently it touched some people, and that really speaks to God working through me, right? It's not my words. I'm not picking these words, they're coming out, but I'm just the vessel at that point. And I was so glad I was able to bring some comfort. There was some joy in that speech. There was some thoughtfulness for the people in that room. I was so glad to do that for them. It meant a lot to me to be able to help her family grieve in that way, and help her family see the kind of person that Pastor Lynn was here at Sharon, and what a solid guide and strength for us she was, and what uh, just a person that we could rely on. And the refrain I gave throughout the whole talk was, every time Pastor Lynn would say to us, "You can do it," and it is such. I'm never going to forget that. All the hard things we've had to do, all the hard things we've been involved with, all the things we didn't think we were strong enough to do. Pastor Lynn was standing right there the whole time saying, "You can do this. You can do it. We can do it. And we will do it together." What a great message. What a great refrain to carry with us as we go forward. And what a great legacy to a wonderful woman. Um, I got an email back from Pastor Lynn's sister this morning. I'm not going to share the email with you because it is quite emotional. I don't think I could read it, but um, the gist of it was she read. I wrote something last Tuesday about Pastor Lynn, and she had read it, and she had shared it with her family, and it was just about uh, how proud she was that um, I was moving forward in this life of ministry, and how thankful she was for our ministry here at Sharon Lutheran, and how uh, this special relationship I had with Lynn over the last few years was preparing me for ministry, and she couldn't wait to see where I go, and that meant a lot. It meant a lot that the family thinks about that, right? Getting a little choked up, right? It's a pretty emotional email, pretty emotional thing to talk about. Um, and it means a lot to me because I'm a guy who never thinks he's good enough. Um, I really struggle with that. I think many of us do. And so it's good to know that we had a pastor who thought we were good enough. It's wonderful to know that her whole family that read my blog, that listened to me talk, confirms that, yeah, Steve, you are good enough. I've got friends and colleagues here at the church who tell me that all the time, right? It's something I struggle with. Um, but we are good enough, and Sharon's good enough. And everybody here and part of our staff and congregation, we're all good enough. And we're going to make it through this um, as best we can. Uh, and we're strong enough to deal with whatever the future is going to bring. So, yeah, that was my week. It was an emotional week. Got more emotional this morning when I checked my email. Was not expecting that. I really hope that you all out there know that you are strong enough, you are good enough, and as Pastor Lynn used to tell us, you can do this, and we are all going to do this together. Nobody is alone. If you need to reach out to anyone on the church staff to talk or vent or whatever you need to do, that's why we're here, because we're all feeling this together. We're all walking through this together. And Sharon's going to come through this together, and I believe stronger. So have a wonderful Friday. Thank you for joining me. We'll see you next week. Amen.